Our next speaker is Britt Ohman from Uppsala University in Sweden. Britt Ohman received her PhD in History of Science and Technology from the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm. She is now faculty at the Center for Gender Research at Uppsala University. Her voluminous research and publications are in the areas of gender, science and technology studies, indigenous studies, decolonizing methodologies, post-colonial theories, and the Arctic. She is, for example, project leader on rivers, resistance, and resilience, sustainable futures in Sápmi, and in other indigenous peoples' territories, and dammed, security, risk, and resilience around the dams of Subarctica. And that latter funded by the Swedish Research Council. Her paper today is titled Supradisciplinary Conversations on Security, Safety, and Resilience in the River Valleys of Sápmi, Land of the Sami. Britt Ohman.
Right. I'm going to start the way I usually start, always with a yoik, which is transfer of knowledge and understanding of Sami territory. And this is a person yoik, which has been turned into by Sofia Janok. It's a yoik by somebody else about Irene, but she made it more popular version with a music video. And it's actually just telling in Sarivome the air reindeer took off, and then the name Ante Nilsoma Berante Irene in Sarivome. So this is a story, this is telling Irene, and you tell Irene by words, but also by the song, the joik. So we'll start there.
Tuomaan
So I want to also start with, let me see it there. Thanking for inviting me here. I forgot to check up whose territory we are on, whose indigenous peoples, but I want to acknowledge also those. Sorry? Right? They're to be being invited to that territory. So I was asked for to talk about the work that I do, community research or community research on communities. But at the same time, I am community. So that's my perspective starting up. I am both a project leader and researcher, PhD of a research project researching on the Sami and with also other indigenous people. But I am also Forest Lule Sami from Jokkmokk, Lule. Actually, the Facebook server hall is in Lule, my hometown. And I'm also become lately also active in Sami associations. I'm a member of the board of the National Sami Association, and since 2013 I'm a deputy member of the Sami Parliament, elected. So I just want to tell you my background is actually that I started looking on Tanzania, being the outsider, the white person studying Tanzania. As I did never plan to come to study my own river and own territory. I won't go into. I've been writing about how I came back, but that's what I did eventually. From 2009, I had a funding to start studying my own home river, the Lule River, and here's the postdoc project. I won't speak much about it, but and then. Received more funding to look at the safety, security on dams from a socio-technical perspective. The dam security risk and resilience around the dams of Subarctica. And just to show you where we are at, you've been talking about Arctic. Jokkmokk is where my mother came from, and Lule where I grew up. And Uppsala is a town where I was both as an undergrad student and now working as a researcher, and then Stockholm. So it's one of my hometowns. I actually have homes in 3 places. I move about. In this presentation, I will speak both of the issues I studied, my methods and theories. I use feminist technoscience, indigenous methodologies, decolonization, supradisciplinarity, human security. I have a number of concepts that I revolve around when I describe what I'm doing. But the point of the departure is my understanding of the situation, and I will bring up the examples from the work, from our work, which is from road trips, workshops, active participation in manifestations. I also provide arenas for decolonization practices at the university. I do participatory research. I do a lot of different things, and I just started to try to figure out what I'm actually, how do I present what I'm actually doing. I'm about to write an article on my methods, so that will be interesting to finally get it together. And the question is, what is at stake in all of this? And researching, the question about researching for what reason and why I do the things I do. So I just wanted to come back to this, the concept of the Arctic. And I mean, it's the new buzzword, and I use it myself for applications, of course, because then you get the funding. But when I remember what I see as the Arctic, this is what I see. This is my only relationship to the Arctic. It's actually the sign I see. This is not in my area, but this is a postcard from one of the roads where you pass the Arctic Circle. So when I first started hearing about the Arctic, this is what I think, okay, that's where you see they put up a sign and tourists come there. That's the Arctic to me and to most people living in the Arctic. It's like, okay. But we need to use it to get the funding, and now we understand it's a hot topic and everybody wants to go there. So let's look at Sápmi, the land of the Sami. So this is the region where Sami people have lived for at least since the last ice age. The Swedish state was established in the 16th century. And we have several different Sami languages, completely different from Swedish. Only in 1977 the Sami were granted the status as indigenous people, and in the Swedish constitution in 2011. And this would mean the recognition of a specific status and rights, and the attachment to a specific territory, lands and water, and is supposedly recognized. And we also have a Sami parliament, of which I'm now deputy member, established in 1993. There is a lot of things to say all about this. But to me, most of all these recognitions is merely theaters. So I'm thinking about the ultimate research objectives. To me, it's all about naming, claiming, and framing what you do. What is the research actually good for? For the development of the society. For what society? Is it the colonization, nation states, power center, society view, the indigenous people's society? In my case, I consider it to be to deal with the traumas from colonization of Sápmi. Sápmi is a Lule Sami word for Sápmi, so we have different names and spellings. So dealing with the traumas from colonization and the racism against Sami, and also strategies for reclaiming and healing my own Sami body and our Sami history, culture, traditions, and the right to live and prosper in our territories. So the feminist technoscience and the issue of scientific objectivity is something I usually just briefly explain, because you always hear this about science is telling the truth, but you all know that's not the reality, because scientific objectivity does not really exist. This idea of a bodiless gaze from nowhere is completely false. And you know, all scientists know that. There's always somebody gazing at something, at someone. And the question is, the gaze, the body is looking at what and why. And who has, if you're looking at who has studied Sami people and indigenous peoples, and for what purposes. And who is studying then now the Arctic, and for what purposes? What's your own purpose? Whoops. So, but we can tell is that so far the majority of the studying and teaching about Sami people within your university has been and still are non-Sami people doing this. And typical kinds of studies made earlier and still today, with the objective is still exploitation of Sami human bodies and Sami territories. Earlier on, we had racial biology, eugenic studies since the 1830s, where scientists in Sweden would go around and digging up graves, taking back human remains for skull measurement, and those are still available in Swedish universities, institutions, and archives. So we have relatives in boxes and photos taken during a long time of photographing of Sami through a Swedish State University for Racial Biology established in 1922. And these pictures are currently at my university. And we have several studies for natural resource exploitation and archaeology, both then and now. So question is, well, this is a photo taken of my grandfather's grandmother's sister, her husband, and this was a photo was actually for racial biology studies. But I'm showing them because I want to think about what happens when we're gazing back. The Sami are gazing back. When we participate in science and funding and deciding what to study and what is supposed to be a good science. And I would say very much of our Sami feminist struggle, and then of course as and the indigenous struggle is about survival, dealing with trauma, and to be allowed to continue to exist, reclaiming a story that has been erased. So that's a lot of the work that I do, and I realize that most of my indigenous colleagues, Sami and other indigenous people, are doing the same. We're dealing with very much the same issues. How much time have I spent already? This goes fast.
12 minutes.
Okay, right. So I'm good. So I just want to say something about feminist technoscience. I don't know if anyone here knows this at all. No one's waving. Yeah, I want to. No, but so what it is about, it's actually like talking about the pioneers in this field, like Sandra Hard and Sharon Trevick from Los Angeles at the UCLA, talking about technology and science society, of course, inseparable. So you cannot see it as different from society. And that there are a number of actors involved. There are human bodies involved in this technoscience. Thus, all scientific claims, truths, myths are carried by human bodies who provide the status and the meaning to them, or on the other, lack of status, depending on who you are, if you get the access to the arenas. And then, of course, the gender, ethnicity, family, class, body function, experience, homeland, knowledge is of massive importance for what is considered to be good, proper, fundable, teachable science. And there is no innocent technoscience. The actors are always involved, are always do have responsibility, including myself. And because of this, we always have to deal with power analysis. So I'm just mentioning some of the pioneers, the people known: Donna Haraway, Sandra Harding, Evelyn Fox Keller. More recent, Kim Thalberg, Winona LeDuc, Sharon Travik, Vandana Shiva. There are many others. And I would say these Karin Stenberg and Elsa Laura Renberg are two Sami women who were not researchers in that sense, but they were actually doing the same as many of us do today, although in academia, struggling for land, life, and spirituality. I speak of Sweden and Sápmi as a colonized territory by the Swedish state, with the mining, hydropower, wind power, forestry, military training and test areas, and so that's my point of departure. This is colonized territory, and we have still the fight going on to reclaim or to preserve the territory. You have Here's Marie Persson, who is fighting for her own area in the Ume River, and Sigrid Saka Stångberg also doing the same, and also fighting for their rights to Sami culture. So this is a photo I took during a visit in so-called road trip in July on August 2014, and here's one of the people I traveled with. This is Stefan Mikaelsson, who is the president of the Sami parliament. So we went together to visit. And this is where the place they want to place a mine, and that Marie Persson is opposing. And here's Hiroshi Maruyama, who is a professor at the Muroran Institute of Technology, Hokkaido, who came also along. Just to show my own activism, I told you I'm a member of the board of the National Sami Association. This is once when I brought the fight, the Sami struggle on from Alta. I don't know about how many of you know about the struggle against the hydropower exploitation in Norway, Alta, in the late 70s, well, the 70s and 80s. And so we have one of the very strong resistance people from there coming to Uppsala, along with Hanna Sofia Otzi, who was fighting in Gallok, the mining. They want to open a mine in Jokkmokk. So I provided the university as a floor for discussing this, what's going on. This is only one of many different occasions. So feminist technoscience, and I also bring in the indigenous studies methodologies. In the indigenous studies and methodologies, what we talk about is healing, giving back, decolonizing, empowering, and bringing independence. There were several authors here, Linda Turvey-Smith, amongst others. Thalberg talks about a method of standing with. Instead of when you talk about science, it's always about studying the others. Thalberg talks about standing with the one you study. And what I do is I try to recenter myself, samifying, turning the research, presentation and methods towards a way that works with my own Sami culture. And there are several different Sami cultural backgrounds, and thereby contribute to survival and well-being of Sami and others within Sápmi and then other indigenous peoples' territories. So that's my own challenge, how to do this. So what I do is I spend a lot of time in the area, in real life. I don't know if there's a difference between in real life and social media anymore, but I do both. I am very much on social media, I also actually organize different things where protests and manifestations through social media and take part in that way of organizing with others. So I witness, I photograph, I document, analyze, and I'm activist. Also these road trips and workshop both in Stockholm, Uppsala, and also in the Sami territory, traditional Sami territory. I wanted to show you this issues of I'll just read it from Linda Tuvai-Smith. While the West might be experiencing fragmentation, the process of fragmentation known under its older guise as colonization is well known to indigenous people. Fragmentation is not an indigenous project, it's something we are recovering from. While shifts are occurring in the ways with which indigenous people put ourselves back together again, the greater project is about recentering indigenous identities on a larger scale. Decolonization, once viewed as the formal process of handing over the instruments of government, is now recognized as a long-term process involving the bureaucratic, cultural, linguistic, and psychological divesting of colonial power. So there are many aspects involved in this decolonization. And the production of technological modern identities has rested in the dispossession of, on dispossessing indigenous peoples from the traditional lands and thus their lands and water related in identities. Thereby the technoscientific knowledge production needs to be decolonized, that is democratized and made less hierarchical in order to enable indigenous peoples' continuous healing and regeneration. Now, there is a massive body of indigenous theory and methodology, including indigenous standpoint theory to work with. But what I feel is we need to work with this. There's from Canada, the US, New Zealand, Australia. They're very far ahead, and there's some in Norway as well. But we have very different context in different area of the Sami territory of Sápmi. So we need to also to place it for each context. And that's a challenge for us. The human security concept, I'm sure you're aware of already. I'm basing it from the Hugesen and Stuvøy developed the gender perspective of human security, where you focus on people's protections of individuals, speaking to relationships of power, informal security theory about structural dominance and non-dominance relations, which are largely unrecognized. So we want to broaden the concepts of risk, security, and safety, and the actors involved. Yeah, I brought this picture from this summer's road trip. This is the source. You can take the water directly from the ground. And this is still very common in the Sami territory. I don't know if you do that here in California. You can just take the water from the ground. But this is really important, and the problem is with that all the mining, all these industrial exploitations is making this impossible. You're destroying the water and the lands for people who live here. And at the same time, we're like, often when you show pictures about the northern parts of Sweden, you talk about wilderness, but it's usually both industrialized, exploited. My own home river provides 10% of the total electricity production in Sweden. So that's a huge amount. My river. And actually I own part of it, but I don't get any money from it still. That's because we're by inheritance from the Laptex land. So I'm still an owner of the part of the Luleå River, but it doesn't help. This is just some photos from what it looks like in the Luleå River. We have the largest dam up in the source. So class 1A dam. So if it breaks, it's actually the Facebook server hall will be gone, as will the rest of the entire valley. There's continuously damages on the reservoir, the dam walls. This is one of my focus areas. So this is all the hydropower dams on the river. Another aspect is that the reservoirs become very dangerous, so people die on them. In Jokkmokk, municipality where they have 5,000 inhabitants. The rescue services told me that 1 to 2 persons die on the reservoirs every winter due to accidents. Just showing you some images of there are not many, there are like on the whole river, which is really long river. I don't know how many kilometers, but you saw here from coast to the mountains must be like 500, 600 kilometers. There is about, I think it's 3 ice roads that are controlled, apart from the bridges. But all other crossings is on you're on your own. Well, this is a photo from my first studies when I interviewed up in the Sorva reservoir. This is what it looks like in the summer. You have the erosion because of the reservoir and the shorelines. Oh, can't speak more about this, but I just want to show you what it looks like in this area due to the power production. And you have the majority of the reindeer herding takes place along the Luleå River, which was not considered at all when the exploitation started. You also have this the power lines, transmission lines all over the area, which take grazing lands, and so that's where the money goes away. And dry beds. The river was exploited without any concern for anything else than the hydropower for the power production. So this is what it looks like. Right. Yeah, here's a photo from my area by Jokkmokk, taken before regulation. I was told it was a photo taken by my father, so it was before my birth. And this is what it looks like now. You see the dam wall in the very end. Oh, sorry. So the stream is gone and it's completely silenced. And then the wall that you saw at the end of the photo, this is what it looks like downstream, another dry bed. And you also have, well, you have people living and having to deal with this on the everyday basis. This is reindeer herding on the river, and so they're on the ice, which is really dangerous for them. So they have incidents and accidents all the time. And then now the recent environmentally friendly power production is considered to be wind power, but that's yet another destruction of reindeer grazing lands. Some wind power parks. They're using the name of parks makes it sound nice, but it's taking a lot of area and destroying the reindeer herding grazing lands and all. And now the prospects are for a huge amount of wind power all over grazing lands. So this is a daily struggle, and I happened to visit the Gällivare Forest Sami community on one of these occasions. They were supposed to meet and deal with the wind power exploitation. So and they spend a lot of time, and they get no, I would say it's just coffee money they get for all the time they spend in trying to answer questions about what is happening with how they can deal with the wind power in their own territories. So they spend a lot of time losing energy and effort to try to guarantee and preserve their own grounds. And then you have already since long before the clear felling forestry practice destroying for them as well. And this is state supported as well. This is in my area. The predators is another contentious issue, which is causing huge problems for reindeer herders. And military training and test areas, again, is coming up again, like every year. The NATO are invited, and this is commercial activities. It used to be protection of Sweden, but nowadays it's mainly commercial activities. So there's been some, there is some opposition against this, and social media is a very important way of dealing with it. This is Anders Sunna, is a famous Sami artist. Yeah, this is the training area compared to the reindeer grazing lands in Sweden, and it's coming up again now in June in the Calving Times and all. And the exploration permits for mining taking over. And this is a nice photo from the Aitik mine. That's their own, the Boliden mining company's own picture. It looks neat and nice. It doesn't look very big, but the problem is that the hole itself is not a problem. It's not the main problem. The problem is the dams where they put the tailing dams. Takes huge areas and also pollute the water. So this is what you see if you climb up the mountain Dundret and take a look at and they're opening new mines all the time. I just want to show you this, where do people get their food from? It's a matter of food security as well, because people actually do fishing, hunting, collecting berries and herbs, apart from reindeer herding. So all of these things are threatened by the industrial exploitations. So this is from Gallock, the protests in 2013 against mining in Jokkmokk. And every Thursday there is a protest at just by the Swedish Parliament. And I was one of the people taking the initiative to start this, and I go there when I can, so I'm taking part. So we do on social media. There are a lot of politicians passing by here, so we try to, when they're there, try to speak to them. Yeah, this is questioned. Actually, Sami used to be part of the elite up to the creation of the modern nation states. So we had two people spoken of from Gustav Vasa. In the 1520s, we have the colonization taking over and changing, and mainly from the 19th century, the very aggressive industrial exploitation and colonization started. I would say Sami are still part of the elite at all levels. You can find Sami people, but it's never spoken of, and you will rarely see someone who is Sami displaying their identity if they're at the academic high level or in the government. They will hide. So Sami are framed as reindeer herders, primitive, vanishing, exotic, sometimes clowns. So I have to deal with this as a researcher and Sami. I wanted to present some example of depiction, but I won't do that because I don't have the time. Instead of show the resistance against it, this is from the manifestation in Jokkmokk that I participated and was one of the organizers in 2013, 2014 as well. And this year, I happen to be the main organizer for the upcoming demonstration next Saturday in Jokkmokk. And I'll end with this. It's from one of the symposium we had at Uppsala University. So this picture is taken from the main, the old university house where we put up the flags. So I made them put up the Sami flags and against the viewing against the cathedral in Uppsala. So I would say that Sami are the indigenous people of the Fennoscandia, but since long made invisible, out of sight and out of power. And our territory is being exploited and destroyed, and the benefits are taken elsewhere. The consequences are severe, and increasing exploitation is currently underway. So the challenge is how to ensure Sami perspectives, methods, culture to take part within academic education and all education and research. How can we enter the perspectives into research where there is today no platform for Sami-led research in Sweden? There is some in Norway and Finland. And currently, the university is run by and for the benefit of the Swedish colonial state. That's what I would say. I forgot to bring this book. This is actually publication, a multivocal with Sami Activisim, but it's available on, you can find it and order it. Do we have 1 minute? No. Yeah. Then I'll end with a lovely yoik again. This is, yoik can be persons, places, memories, and also animals. And this is from the Gallock protest in 2013. Became a very cultural event during this time. It was like almost 2 months of like occupation of a place they wanted to mine, starting mining. So this is Katarina Rimpi, who does the ptarmigan from one of these occasions.
Bra jobbat! Ni kan ge er på den.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.